This is At the Public Library, the video source for news and information about the San Francisco Public Library System. This month's show, we invite you to celebrate Black History Month at the Public Library with a look at the many special programs and events planned throughout the library system. And we'll have much more at the Public Library.
Hey Jim, what are you reading?
Oh, hi. I'm reading currently a book titled Jackson by Max Bird. It's about Andrew Jackson, Old Hickory. I particularly like this book because it talks about Washington, D.C. in the 1820s, 30s, and 40s, right about the time before it really was built up like it is today. It talks about what the conditions were like in those days. You have to remember that Washington was burnt down during the War of 1812. So when Jackson becomes president in the 1830s, Washington still hadn't been built up yet. The streets were unpaved, they were muddy. Most people hated Washington because it was swampy. There were a lot of mosquitoes, and most people lived in just plain old boarding houses. Like all the people of this particular party would live in these boarding houses, and the people who was of that particular party and their friends lived in this boarding house, and that's the way things went. The book also gives a very good picture of what it was like to be a slave in those days. After all, it is Black History Month, and they particularly make reference to the slaves. But you get a different picture of slavery because since all of the people are upper class people in the book, the slaves are the maids, the butlers, the serving people, and they seem to have an awful lot of them around. One of the best depictions is Mrs. Jackson's slave and companion, and there is a scene where when Mrs. Jackson dies that of her and the woman that she knew as her best friend and slave. It's a really very touching story. Also, the book delves into the machinations of the governments at that time. There was the Van Buren and the New York Machine, and Andrew Jackson and the Wild West Bunch, and how they schemed to manipulate the electoral college to take the election of 1824 out of Andrew Jackson's hands, and how he finally came to be president in 1828. It's really great to see that the politics then have not changed very much than the politics now. I really like the book, mainly because the book it's a book within a book, and the book is written by a man who is hired to write a political novel favorable about Andrew Jackson, and how he interviews all of these people in Washington to come to a conclusion about how he's going to make up this novel. So coming from the standpoint of a novel within a novel, it gives a new twist on the press, publicity, and presidential politics.
During February, many neighborhood branch libraries and the main library will present a variety of engaging programs to mark the 73rd celebration of Black History Month. Many of the Black History Month programs are being coordinated through the library's African American Center, located on the 3rd floor of the main library. At the Public Library recently spoke with Amy Holloway, librarian for the African American Center, about the upcoming Black History Month programs and to find out more about the African American Center and its resources.
Well, the African American Center is a gateway to African American resources throughout the system here at San Francisco Public Library. As you browse through the resources here in the room, you'll see that they cover a broad range of subject areas, whether that be African Americans in religion, in history, in education, biographies about African Americans, books about the arts. You'll notice that we are located within the General Collections Department, which mainly contains humanities, history, and literature resources. But we do have some of the materials from other departments also, like I said, on art and music or on business. The resources here in the African American Center are reference copies. However, for many of the titles, there are circulating copies here in the main library or throughout the system. The African American Center was established through the hard work of the African American Affinity Group and the Library Foundation. The Affinity Group raised $500,000 to build and to furnish this room. And as you can see, it's a comfortable reading room, which I think many of the patrons have found is a great resource to not only come and read, but to share and to interact. Some of the patrons who come are writers or artists, and I've seen some of the artists open up their portfolios on the tables, and possibly they will be doing exhibitions here in the future. The African American Center is proud to present the exhibition, Our Roots Run Deep, The Black Experience in California, curated by John Templeton. And he's the author of the same book, the book of the same title rather, Our Roots Run Deep, The Black Experience in California. So we invite everyone to visit the 6th floor Skylight Gallery to see his exhibition through February 27th. And John Templeton is very prolific. He's done now about 3 volumes of his book series. But also he presents numerous programs here at the library, so we appreciate his work. In conjunction with the Our Roots Run Deep exhibition, John Templeton is presenting 2 film programs. The first is Tuesday, February 10th at 5:30, and that's Carmen Jones. And the second is Tuesday, February 24th at 6 p.m. And that's the video presentation about Our Roots Run Deep, and also a short called Leidesdorf, A Man Without Boundaries.
The African American Center, along with the Western Addition, Bayview Wadden, and Ocean View branch libraries, will present the 10th annual Unsung Hero Awards program on Sunday, February 22nd at 1 p.m. in the main library's Corette Auditorium. The Unsung Hero Awards honors individuals who give time and energy to make life better for others throughout the San Francisco African American community. The awards program will include entertainment and a reception following the ceremony. On Sunday, February 15th, the African American Center will present a Paul Robeson Centennial celebration sponsored by Amnesty International. The Robeson celebration is part of a series of library and Amnesty International co-sponsored programs honoring the 50th anniversary of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. The Robeson Centennial celebration will feature a variety of guest speakers that will honor Robeson, a world-renowned human rights activist, scholar, singer, actor, and athlete. And in honor of Black History Month, the main library, Thursdays at noon, large-screen video programs will present Ordinary, Extraordinary African American Stories. The series begins with $2 and a Dream, the life story of Mrs. C.J. Walker, a daughter of slaves who became America's first self-made woman millionaire. Then on Thursday, February 12th, it's 2 short films, Freedom Bags and Only the Ball Was White. Freedom Bags follows the journey made by thousands of young African American women who migrated north in the first 3 decades of this century. Actor Paul Winfield narrates Only the Ball Was White, a documentary about the Negro Baseball Leagues, where many of America's greatest baseball players spent their careers before Jackie Robinson was hired to play second base for the Brooklyn Dodgers. On Thursday, February 19th, the series continues with A Great Day in Harlem. This Oscar-nominated film captures a unique historical event of 1958, where everyone who was anyone in the jazz world was gathered for a photography session. The film includes rare archival footage of many jazz legends. The series concludes on February 26th with Once Upon a Time, We Were Colored, a film of the segregated South in the 1940s through the 60s, based on a novel by Clifton Talbert. And also for Black History Month, Teen Services of the Bayview Anna E. Wadden Branch Library will present video screenings of the works of the late Bay Area African-American filmmaker Marlon Riggs. First on Thursday, February 19th at 10 a.m., Ethnic Notions, a documentary of images of African Americans in the mass media. And on Thursday, February 26th, Color Adjustment, which focuses on African Americans through 40 years of television.
We invite you to visit the African American Center and to attend all of our Black History Month programs and exhibitions. We also thank you for any suggestions or ideas you'd like to bring for the future.
Here is your San Francisco Public Library invitation to a great variety of Black History Month children's programs. Join James Tyrone Wallace, telling traditional folktales and original stories of heroism and cultural pride throughout the month at these branch libraries. And come check out Karen McKee, the Doll Lady, with her wondrous creations. Yolanda Rhodes will elevate your spirits with a rich blend of music, stories, and dance. See how African American textile traditions are reflected in the works of Bay Area quilt makers, and work on a library quilt. Enjoy folktales, myth, and original stories with music and songs by Anita Jones. Internationally known storyteller Awele Makeba breathes life into Southern plantation tales and stories from Africa. And that's not all. For more information on Black History Month children's celebrations, check out a free copy of the February print edition of At the Public Library.
Books, check 'em out. Books, check 'em out. Pick up a book. You got a fantasy? Imagination can take you to where you wanna be. Are you curious? How can you find out? Books, check 'em out. Books, check 'em out. Read about stars and cars, play electric guitars, or cops that work hard, patrolling the boulevard, the heavyweight champ and as crazy as bout. Books, check 'em out. Books, check 'em out. At your library.
December 16th through March 15th, the main library's Duet Gallery welcomes Tibetan Sacred Art and Books, an exhibition which celebrates an outstanding collection of works compiled by Dharma Publishing in Berkeley. Located on the main library's lower level, the exhibition displays Tibetan sacred art portrayed in intricate wall scrolls used for meditation and visualization practice. Also shown are the technical means of preservation and the human commitment that has made such an endeavor possible. We had the opportunity to speak with the exhibition coordinator, Barry Shieber, about the exhibit and the work of Dharma Publishing.
The Tibetan Sacred Art and Books exhibition represents 25 years of research and 25 years of scholarship collecting the books of Tibet. After the Chinese invasion of Tibet in the early 50s and 59, many of the texts were lost because the Chinese destroyed about 6,000 monasteries. And the remaining texts, the few that got out into India, were in jeopardy of being destroyed by humidity and heat and dirt and the dispersion of all this type of knowledge. Tibetan texts were on block prints, so each single thin sheet of fragile paper was sandwiched between two boards. So you had a body of knowledge that went back 2,500 years to the Buddha and had been handed down faithfully all this time that was in danger of being lost to the world. So Tarthang Tulku Rinpoche, who headed this whole project, who was a Lama in India at the time, having left Tibet, and came to America to help preserve this whole body of knowledge. It turned out to be a vast research project, a vast printing project that culminated at the end of 1995 in 755 atlas-sized volumes of books. That's the largest Tibetan Buddhist text in the world, the largest collection. It's a compilation of well over 5,000 texts. One set is 755 volumes, and we printed 108 sets. So that's 80,000 volumes, and each book weighs about 5 pounds. And it's printed on acid-free paper in the finest ink available. And as you can see by looking at them, they're just beautiful books. But the research effort behind this project is as large as basically cataloging the Library of Congress from start. It's huge. I mean, there are so many different texts from different times. And in Tibet, you know, you'd have a monastery in one remote area. And even though in mileage it might not be far, you'd have these huge mountain ranges between monasteries. So it was kept very separate. It was the knowledge was very dispersed. This is the first time in history that all this has been collected, put into one large edition that will benefit so many people in the future. We think we've preserved about 75 to 80% of the text of Tibet. So Dharma Publishing, this is only one part of what they do, but it was clearly a purpose is to save this whole endangered culture or this ancient body of wisdom. One of our purposes is each year we have a peace ceremony in Bodh Gaya, India, where we take the text and return these to the Tibetans and the people living in the Himalayan effort. So it's really a wondrous story that this began in India so long ago, 2,500 years ago. It finally makes full circle to its manufactured and produced here in California, and then we ship it in a vast shipping effort back to the peace ceremonies, and these texts are returned to lamaseries and monasteries and to practitioners of Buddhism, because you need practitioners to explain the text. The whole project, you know, it's a 25-year effort. There was research done. There was just small things. What type of paper do we use? What type of printing press do we use? How do we stitch it? Stitching was a big deal. We ended up with a 17th century method of binding the books called the French groove binding method. So we went back, you'll see in the video, our stitcher was made in 1905. It was sitting in someone's warehouse in New York. And we wanted to stitch these books so that no pages would fall out. You know, durability was essential. So we went back, we looked at, they said, yes, you could do this, but you'd be able to produce about one book a day. And we had 80,000 books to do, so we said our timetable is a little shorter than that. And we figured out through working with all this how to do 40 books. And this continued to happen. Time and time again, people said this can't be done, and we could do it. Then we gold stamped the covers. I mean, step by step, anyone knows the printing process, there was a tremendous amount of detail. So you'd have to have huge critical path. How are we going to get the paper here? How is it going to be stored? What are the logistics? How do we move these books the way you know, a set of books is 2 elephants or some size like that. How do we do this? It was a massive organizational and leadership challenge. Some of these are mandalas. This is mandalas here. Some of these are paintings of Buddhas. And these are very much instrumental in the whole text. Each text, the first 120 volumes, or the first 108 volumes, contains a tanka. And these are what these are called. These are called Tibetan tankas, which are wall hangings or wall scrolls. They were used for visualization practices and meditation practices. They go hand in hand with the text. Getting these particular paintings that are so beautiful and so colorful, we had to write museums throughout the world. Looking over here on this wall, I know these came from Bhutan, which are very unusual tankas. Most people haven't seen this type here. Some are from Tibet, and I don't know the location of the originals. Some may have been sent by museums or libraries throughout the world. Surprisingly, in Europe, there was quite a few tankas in Scandinavia and around there, and they sent us. I mean, you can imagine, you'd mail it, you'd ask a request, and then they'd say, well, you know, here's the conditions of it, and we take this and reproduce it. And we also have a whole array of maps here, of early maps of how this whole transmission from India where the Buddhism started, how it got to Tibet, and why it was safe from about the 11th century. Once it got to Tibet and the Himalayas were so high, it was really a culture that didn't go out very much as far as activities went or knowledge went, because they were very self-sufficient. It was a beautiful country, is a beautiful country. And it took really the invasion of China before all this knowledge became dispersed. So I think what you have here is you have a very good introduction to, first of all, the preservation of sacred knowledge, which is very important. I think we all know how to respect text, but sacred is a whole nother level of activity, what a sacred text would really mean. And also you have all these beautiful images, symbols, signs that people connect with regardless of their beliefs, and you don't have to have any belief. There's just something about that people connect with, and I think that's very important, and I think people appreciate that. I think the maps themselves are very interesting for people like that. We have timelines, and we have a description of it. But the video itself really explains sort of where this knowledge began, why the preservation, where we are in this transmission of this knowledge so it becomes established here in the West. This transmission is going to take a while because the texts are primarily in Tibetan, and the translation work will probably take another generation. Those are 10 feet temple hangings, probably by about 3 or 4 feet. And we put those in the atrium of the library and also right here before that, mainly because they're so colorful, they're so attractive, people get very curious, and also very traditional for people who know about this. And here in the Bay Area, a lot of people know about that, so they see these, they associate it with Tibetan. But Tibetans use very vivid colors, and these just seem to capture people. I think they're really victory over suffering. Maybe there's something deeper than that, but I think people just like the way they're made. There's something sort of mystical, primordial about them.
Whether your interest is mystical or historical, religious or artistic, come see it for yourself. The Tibetan Sacred Art and Books exhibition, now through March 15th in the main library's Jewett Gallery. Catalogs and many reproductions from the exhibit are also available at the Friends of the Library store, located on the 2nd floor. It's tax time again, so grab a pencil. We've got lots of information about getting your taxes done coming right up. The filing deadline is April 15th, 1998, which falls on a Wednesday this year. The San Francisco Public Library does not carry federal tax forms, but this year the main library will distribute the California 1997 Personal Income Tax Booklet with Forms 540, 540A, and 540EZ. You can pick them up inside the Larkin Street entrance to the main library. Here are the places where you can get the full selection of forms and tax assistance. For all state tax forms and for basic federal forms, go to the Franchise Tax Board at 50 Fremont Street, between Mission and Market, on the 9th floor, Suite 900. That's Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. And for all federal forms, go to the Federal Office Building, 450 Golden Gate Avenue between Polk and Larkin. Room 5403 on the 1st floor. Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. For phone information from the state, you can call 1-800-852-5711 for information and assistance, or 1-800-338-0505 for state tax forms. And the number for tax assistance for the hearing impaired is 1-800-829-1040. Or check out the Franchise Tax Board website at www.ftb.ca.gov or www.taxsites.com for forms over the internet. For federal phone information, call 1-800-829-1040 for information and assistance, or 1-800-829-3676. That's 1-800-TAX-FORM for federal forms. And for the hearing impaired, call 1-800-829-4059. In addition, you can receive federal forms by fax by calling 1-703-368-9694 and check out the IRS website at www.irs.ustreas.gov for forms over the Internet. And for senior citizens 60 years or older and with income of $50,000 or less per year, the Ortega Branch Library has free income tax assistance every Monday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. through April 13th. This program is sponsored by the American Association of Retired Persons. And please note, the tax help will not be available on February 16th as the library will be closed for President's Day, a legal holiday. The branch libraries are presenting a wide variety of programs this month, including an afternoon of South Asian Indian modern dance by the California Contemporary Dancers at the Ingleside Branch Library on Saturday, February 21st at 2:30 p.m. Also on February 21st at the Chinatown Branch, a slide presentation by Al Greening about his travels in Asia, including China and Hong Kong. This program will begin at 2:30 p.m. The Sunset Branch presents Al Ghetto with a dramatic reading of The Way Up to Heaven by Roald Dahl on Monday, February 23rd at 7 p.m. Writing as a Spiritual Journey, a discussion with psychic consultant and writer Rebecca Radner, takes place at the Golden Gate Valley Library on February 28th at 3:30 p.m. Join the fun at Scrabble Night, Wednesday, February 25th at 7:15 p.m. at the Bernal Heights Branch Library. Carol Mickelson, author of Camping Your Way Through Europe, presents a travel video and slideshow on camping in Italy at the Sunset Branch on Monday, March 2nd at 7 p.m. And everything you want to know about electric deregulation will be discussed at Plug In California, an education program presented by Sharon Cresswell of the California Public Utilities Commission on Wednesday, March 4th at 7 p.m. in the main library. And that's a quick look at a few of the events going on at your neighborhood library. Thanks for watching At the Public Library here on City Watch Cable Channel 54. You can catch At the Public Library Monday mornings from 9:30 to 10:30 a.m. and from 12:30 to 1:30 p.m. Friday evenings from 8 to 9 p.m. and Saturdays from 12 noon to 1 p.m. See you next time.